Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the NBA slate on Wednesday, August 5th. We got a nice 6-game slate, some really terrible games, some really don't want to watch, a lot of defensive teams. So there's some tough plays we're going to have to make today if we're going to want to be different and make some good lineups. But hey, that's the kind of things we got to get into, and we're going to break it all down for you here today. Before I get in, if you're new here or you're just watching again, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, turn on the notification bells. All those things really help me grow this channel. We've been growing pretty well throughout NASCAR season. Now NBA started, so I want to continue to grow through that. We have NFL coming up, NCAA football coming up, all those things. I'm going to be making content for those as well, so make sure to stick around for those if you're not just into NBA, but I will be making videos for those as well. If you want to get more of my content, you can subscribe to my Patreon. Right now I have tiers for NBA and NASCAR because that's what's going on, but I will have NFL and NCAA coming up. But for NBA, you're going to get this entire spreadsheet, which has all the players, and these are just my interests for today that I've sorted out. But you're going to get the spreadsheet with all the stats that you need to know, and then you're also comes with projections. You're going to come with an article, salary rankings, salary tier rankings, and a cash score for every single day. And you're going to get this cheat sheet and the projections for DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, Super Draft, and Fantasy Draft. You're getting them for all of them, so make sure to check that out. It's only $10 a month, really not that much for considering how many games, how many slates are a week, and for all the information you are going to be getting from that. So make sure to check that out. But I think that's all I got to say, so let's get into the player-by-player breakdown. And we're going to start out with the Boston Celtics players that I'm interested in, and Jaylen Brown is the first one I'm going to talk about. So Boston plays Brooklyn today, and Brooklyn's trash. I mean, they're just so bad. I'm expecting the guys that sat out the last game or yesterday against Milwaukee to play. So Allen, Harris, and LeVert, I'm expecting them all to play today. So I do think this game should be like at least decently competitive. It's not going to be like yesterday where the Bucks sat out their whole starters the whole second half. But if that is the case and Allen, Harris, and LeVert don't play, but at the time of the video I'm expecting them to, I would not really, honestly, I think there'd be good reason to just completely fade the game, especially from the Boston side, because I don't think the starters will really get much run. It'll be like yesterday with Milwaukee, where Boston's just going to probably play him for the first half and then the second half pull him. But right now, I do think those guys are going to play, so I'm going to start with Jaylen Brown. He's still only 6,900 on DraftKings, and Kemba Walker is out today, which honestly is the biggest reason I'm into all three of these guys today. Kemba Walker is a high-usage player who leaves a ton of usage on the table. And with Kemba Walker off, Jaylen Brown has a usage bump of about 2%, and that's very viable in this in what we need. I mean, that's just going to get him the ball more. He's going to be shooting the ball just a little bit more, and at 6,900, he can hit up that value where he would really be like a 8,000 player. So I do like Jaylen Brown a lot. It's not Brooklyn's just bad at guarding everything anyway. He does have a positive matchup against the wings, but a negative against the forwards. So that's okay, but it's still a solid matchup. Right now, the lines, I think, are a little bit down, and they're going to rise up a little bit for Boston, especially if in the hour. So I think this is going to end up being a good total for Boston as well. Next, we have Marcus Smart at 6,500, and like Kemba Walker's out, and I just expect Smart to step into the starting lineup. He should see at least 30 minutes, probably more like 34, 35, and this is, again, just a great matchup for him. I mean, with Kemba off the court, also, he does have about a 2% usage bump as well, and when we look at the matchup, he's got a positive matchup against point guards and a positive matchup against combo guards. So yeah, I like Marcus Smart a lot. He's just gonna be out there for his defense. He gets a nice bump in assist percentage too. He gets a 4% bump in assist percentage actually when Kemba Walker's off the court, and that should free us more assists. I mean, he's going to be playing point guard. Usually when they're on the court together, Kemba's still the point guard and Smart's playing the two, but now Marcus Smart's going to have the ball more in his hands. He's going to be doing way more with it. I think Marcus Smart's a good play today. I expect him to be pretty highly owned because I honestly, all three of these guys will probably be pretty decently owned because they're playing Brooklyn and everyone knows Kemba's out, but they're all good plays, and I don't think any of them should be like super chalky that you're going to need to get off of them. Now, my favorite one on this team is definitely Jason Tatum, though, at 8,200. He's just, he's the best player on the team, and he's just not an 8,200 player. Like, he's an 87 to 9,200 player. And, he's only priced at 8,200, and Kemba Walker's out. He gets a usage bump of about 5% when Kemba's off the floor. So, he's going to be the highest usage player by a good bit on this team today. And I don't see any reason to really get off him. I mean, again, it's a good matchup against Brooklyn. They suck against everything. And, the pace is it's a little bit of a pace-up spot for Brooklyn, or for Boston. I didn't mention that, but it's about 2-possession pace-up spot, so they got a nice pace-up spot. The lines are going to look good for them. So everything looks good for the Boston players, and Tatum's going to be the highest usage player. And, he should be able to pretty much I expect him to outscore that price tag. I mean, if he doesn't, he doesn't. I mean, yesterday he didn't really have a great day, but it was against Miami, who's one of the better defensive teams in the league, and today it's against Brooklyn, who's like the bottom three, bottom three of what they got right now. So, yeah, I think Tatum's a very solid play today. Next, we have Jared Allen, or we're going to get into Brooklyn Nets. We have Jared Allen at 5,400. And, I mean, yeah, Boston's kind of a tough matchup, but, I mean, Jared Allen's just 5,400. Like, he shouldn't be 5,400 with everyone out. He's playing in the upper 30s of minutes. I mean, right now, I'm projected for 38. He may only get, like, 35, but, like, that's still going to destroy that salary. I mean, he's just way too cheap. He's going to be going against Daniel Tice, who's just not big enough to handle him anyway. He should be getting a ton of rebounds, be able to score a good bit. A double-double should happen for him for sure. He's got a high enough ceiling at 5,400 where I just want to pay for it. Joe Harris always seems to go under own for Brooklyn, since the bubble started. And, I mean, he's just got a good ceiling, too, just because he's getting such a good usage bump with everybody that's off the floor, or everyone off the floor. He's got a 7% usage bump without Kyrie and Dinwiddie on the floor this year, and a 9% assist rate bump. So, like, those are just, like, big numbers. He has the ball way more in his hands. He's expecting to do a lot more. He's not just a shooter anymore. He's getting to the basket. If you watch the games, he's getting to the basket. He's rebounding. He's getting assists. He's doing everything. So Joe Harris at only 5,400 at that usage rate is just such a good play, in my opinion. Yeah, Boston's a tough matchup, but, I mean, he should have the ball enough in his hands that it's not really going to matter. And then I'm going to go to Caris LeVert again. I mean, it's just he's 7,800. I mean, that's it. He's 7,800. He has a 38.3 usage rate when Kyrie and Dinwiddie are off the floor this year, and he's been showing out since it. And the first game against Orlando, they struggled, they got blown out, he got into a little bit of foul trouble, so he didn't play as much. But the last game against Washington, he played 39 minutes. And I'm not saying he's going to play 39 minutes, but he should play 35 minutes this game. And at 7,800 with a 38.8 usage rate, I mean, it's just insane. Like, you just don't. You don't get players that cheap for that with that much usage on their team. He also has a 10% bump in assist percentage as well, so everything just goes up for Caris LeVert. Matchup isn't fantastic or anything. It's a little bit of a pace down spot for this game, but yeah, I mean, he's just too cheap. He should be he should be an 8,000 player. Like, look, we have Jason Tatum at 8,200, and he has an even lower usage rate today than Caris LeVert. So I think Caris LeVert is a very solid play. I didn't mean to put Garrett Temple on here, so we're not really going to talk about him. I mean, he's okay, I guess. If he's a guy, if you're making a ton of GPPs and you want to sprinkle him in, then that's fine, but he's not really someone that's a main interest for me. Nikola Jokic for the Denver Nuggets. They play the San Antonio Spurs today, and this is basically the same thing I talked about Joel Embiid a few days ago, that there's no way Jakob Poeltl and Drew Eubanks can shut down Joel Embiid. Well, they shut down Joel Embiid, but I'm going to just go back to the well. I don't think they're going to be able to shut down Jokic. Jokic has looked very good since the restart. He's 9,700 player for a reason now. San Antonio's just not good. He gets a little bit of a pace-up spot against the Spurs. He does have a positive matchup, 2 more points in average. The Spurs are allowing to centers. When we look at the pace-up spot, Denver gets about a three-possession pace-up spot, and the line looks pretty solid for them. So, yeah, Nikola Jokic looks like a very solid play to me today at 9,700. I don't really like two of the top studs in LeBron and AD today that much. I hate that matchup against OKC that they have to go against. So I don't think we have to go like full stars and scrubs. So Jokic is probably a good option to go to as a high-priced guy, in my opinion. If you want to make Jokic your highest-priced guy in your lineup, I think that's a very, very viable option today. I think he's a very solid play. Next, we have Paul Millsap at 5,100. Oh, I forgot to mention about Nikola Jokic that Jamal Murray's most likely out again. I mean, he is questionable if Barton and Gary Harris are out, and Jamal Murray's questionable. I don't think Murray's going to play again, to be honest. And if he does, it'll be in limited minutes. And when Murray's off the court, Jokic gets a nice usage bump. Paul Millsap, 5,100. All three of these guys are getting usage bumps from Jamal Murray being off and Barton being off the court. So, but Paul Millsap at 5,100 gets the biggest usage bump, and I really like him again today. He's been playing about in the upper 20s to 30 minutes a game. With Jamal Murray off the court, he has about a 6% usage bump, which is very, very nice. It's something that is very important, very nice to have. He's someone who's going to have the ball in his hands more and be able to get more rebounds. So all those things really help him out. We have, of course, positive matchups everywhere for Paul Millsap, bigs and forwards. Very positive matchup for him there. And it's a nice pace-up spot. Michael Porter Jr. at 6,200, I think is going to go low owned today. I mean, it's just he's 6,200, and people are going to be like, "Oh my God, this is too expensive for Michael Porter Jr." I mean, 2 games ago he was the minimum on DraftKings, and then last game he was like 4,300 and he went off. But I don't care. Michael Porter Jr. is like just really good. I mean, he's just a really, really great offensive player who's got a high point per minute producer. And I mean, we saw him. He dropped 37 last game, and he's getting the minutes. As long as he's getting the minutes, the upside is there for him to absolutely hit that ceiling at 6,200. Like I was writing in my article for Patreon this morning that Michael Porter Jr. is like a 6,200 player right now, but he has the ceiling. But when he gets the playing time, he has a ceiling of like an 8K player. So you're getting him at 6,200. Now, he may suck again today, but I mean, you always have that risk, but I just think he's just got so much upside at that price tag still that, I mean, people are going to be off of him because of that price tag, but I don't want to avoid him. And he's playing the Spurs, too. Like, it's not like it's a terrible matchup. Like, the Spurs suck. Again, they have a positive matchup against forwards and a positive matchup against wings. That's not something that, like, you're going to see too often. The Spurs are a nice pace-up spot. They're not a good defensive team. Who's guarding Michael Porter Jr. today? DeMar DeRozan? Like, DeMar DeRozan isn't good at defense. I mean, Rudy Gay is, but, like, he's kind of old. He's kind of washed. He's not quick enough to keep up Michael Porter anymore. So, like, I just don't see anyone who's really going to be able to stop him if he gets in the zone again. So I think Porter's in a very good spot today, and I like his price tag, and I like what I'm expecting the ownership to be on Michael Porter Jr. Next, we have Brandon Clark, 4,600. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies are without Jaren Jackson Jr. for the rest of the season. They're pretty much screwed, in my opinion. I don't think they're making the playoffs. I think Portland gets in at this point. But yeah, Brandon Clark, I expect to start today, and he's 4,600. I mean, he is playing Utah. It's a tougher matchup, but he's just 4,600 and should see 30-plus minutes. He gets a little bit of a usage bump without not Clarkson, I don't know why I said that, without Jaren Jackson on the floor. If we go look at the matchups, he does have a negative matchups against forwards, but a positive against bigs. So, yeah, Rudy Gobert, overrated this year. Anyway, so yeah, Brandon Clark looks good. He should get the minutes that he needs at 4,600. I expect him to be really highly owned. He'll probably be one of the highest owned players today, but I don't really care. I'm just going to go to Brandon Clark. He's a good point per minute producer, and he's very cheap, so nothing wrong with that there. Next, we have Joe Val at 7,400 against Utah. I think Joe Val's a good play today because I think now that Jaren Jackson's out, he's going to get a lot more minutes. I mean, we've been seeing, if you've been watching Memphis play a lot at the end of these games, they'll run like lineups with Clark and Jaren Jackson on the floor without Jonas Valanciunas. But now Jaren Jackson's out, so I think Valanciunas picks up a few more minutes here. They could go even smaller and just put Kyle Anderson and Brandon Clark in at the 4 and the 5, but I just don't think that's smart. I think Jonas Valanciunas is just a better player, especially when you're playing against Rudy Gobert in Utah. Like, they're going to need another big to handle him. I mean, you can't put Brandon Clark on him for, at the end of the game because he's just going to eat him alive. So, yeah, I think Joe Val is in a good spot today. I think he's going to play a lot more minutes at 7,400. He's a high rebound producer, someone that looks very, very good on this slate. Up next, we have the OKC Thunder, which, I mean, coming into this trying to break down this game this morning, I was like, kind of not expecting me to have any interest in a lot of the OKC guys, but they're all just kind of cheap. Like, I mean, that's pretty much all it is. I mean, Steven Adams is 5,500. He should not be 5,500. He's been playing in the 30s of minutes. It's not like earlier this year he was only getting like 25 to 27 minutes a game. Since the bubble started, he's been playing in the 30s of minutes. And it's not like, I mean, yeah, Anthony Davis is down there, but if they're running like JaVale McGee or Howard in, like, they're not really great defensive centers anymore. Steven Adams should be able to handle them pretty solidly. I don't know if I'm really expecting a big game from him, but I think he's a decent play that I'd want to like put in just some GPP lines. So I'm playing one line for a 3 max. I'm probably not getting to Steven Adams today, but I do think he is a solid option. Next, we have Danilo Galinari at 5,700, and Danilo Galinari gets a nice usage bump with Dennis Schroeder out today. Let's see what we're going to go look at. He gets about a 3% usage bump with Dennis Schroeder off the court this year. So now no Schroeder is out there freed up about 30 minutes, where we get a lot more minutes for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chris Paul, who we're about to talk about. But yeah, Gallinari's in a solid spot. Matchup doesn't look so great. I mean, it's negative matchups everywhere, but he just gets a nice usage bump. And I mean, he's only 5,700, should play around 28 to 33 minutes today. So I don't think he's like a great like lock you in play, but like these OKC guys, I'm pretty sure are gonna be pretty low owned because they play LA, and any of them have a good ceiling to like just go off. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 6,700. He's a little bit expensive for me, but I think I like it because with Schroeder off the floor, he's gonna be playing like 36 to 40 minutes. I mean, him and Chris Paul are just out there a ton now. I mean, they love running their 3-guard system, and now one of them's out, so they have to run 2 of them like all the time because they would run 3 guards at once, and then sometimes, but they'd always want to have at least 2 of like Paul, Shai Gilgeous, and Schroeder in. Now now Schroeder's out, so like it's just Shai Gilgeous and Chris Paul playing a ton of minutes. So yeah, SGA looks really good for me today. He's got a nice 1% usage bump of Schroeder off the court. I mean, not a ton, but it's a usage bump. Nevertheless, he'll have the ball in his hands more. The matchup isn't fantastic. Well, for combo guards, it isn't. The Lakers are actually one of the worst teams in the league against point guards, which I think would be a little surprising to a lot of people, but they are. And so, I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing point guard a lot out there, and so is Chris Paul, who we'll get into in a second. And so I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander looks really solid here. I think he's a decent play that probably won't go too highly owned today. So yeah, I think Shai Gilgeous is a solid play. Chris Paul at 7,900. I mean, Chris Paul played 39 minutes last game, and honestly, I think he'll do it again. Like, it's Chris Paul. He's trying to win as much as he can right now. He's been trying to just prove everybody wrong this year, and he has. He's going to continue to do it. No shooter today is going to just boost up his minutes again. And again, I just said the Lakers are not really good against point guards, which is kind of surprising, to be honest, but they aren't. And now we get Chris Paul in a matchup where I think he's going to go a little bit lower owned. I think this is a good guy to go to. Like, I think on a slate where I think there's going to be there's probably going to be a lot of chalk, especially like with the Philly guys. I could see the Nets guys and the Celtics guys being pretty chalky. I think ways to get different are go to these OKC players who I don't think are going to go too highly owned because of the matchup, but I think they have as much upside as anybody on the slate. Joel Embiid against Philadelphia or against Washington. All right, so I mean, all year we just target Washington. They're so bad on defense, and I mean, I said it last time. There's no way Jakob Poeltl is going to lock down Joel Embiid, and it happened. But now there's really no way Thomas Bryant locks down Joel Embiid. Like, he's literally like the worst defensive center in the entire NBA. He's been getting torched all freaking year. This is just an absolute brutal matchup. 3 more points in average to opposing centers as Washington's allowing this year. And honestly, Thomas Bryant hasn't played that much, but if we've looked at the games that the Wizards have played, the centers have pretty much gone off. And we saw Jared Allen torch them. We saw DeAndre Ayton torch them. Miles Turner had a really good game. So, yeah, I mean, the centers have just been killing Thomas Bryant. And Embiid's the best one he's going to have to play against. Like, Embiid could, like, honestly go for, like 30 and 15 today, and I would not be shocked at all. So, yeah, I mean, Embiid could have a monster game today for sure. It's a nice pace-up spot for Washington as well. 4 more points per possession on average, and they are getting a nice look in the line. The line's projected 12 more points than average too. So that's for the whole team. So yeah, Embiid looks really good to me today. I think he's just such a high producer. He's my favorite top play on the slate by far. It's not really even close. Hopefully the game doesn't blow out, but I'm really not going to try to predict that unless I know like it's Brooklyn and the Stars aren't going to play. And that game didn't blow out, but it's because the Stars didn't play. So for Milwaukee. But yeah, Joel Embiid, I think it's an absolute smash play. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy has 20 points in 5 minutes to start the game. So yeah, Josh Richardson is not someone I ever like to play, but Washington sucks, and they suck really bad against the 2 positions he plays. Wing and combo guard, just 5 more points than average to wing players and 3 more than combo guards on average. That's really all I have to say about Josh Richardson, to be honest. He's not a high usage guy. He's a low point per minute guy. And he's not someone I want to play a ton of, but I think he has the upside today. And every once in a while, we see these games from Josh Richardson where he just goes off. I mean, he did it earlier this year, I think, once. So, I mean, it could happen, but he's not someone I would, like, put so much, like, on. I just think he's in a great spot, so he does have the upside today. And then, lastly, in this Washington-Philly game, we got Ben Simmons, who just, I mean, if anyone on Philly benefits more from a pace-up spot, it's always Ben Simmons. I love playing Ben Simmons in spots where the pace is a lot faster than normal because he's just such a fast-paced player. He loves getting up and down the floor, loves having the ball in his hands. So, yeah, I know who's guarding Ben Simmons on Washington, bro. Like, probably Isak Bonga is going to be guarding him, and I just don't – I'm just not – he's not going to guard – he's not going to do well. I mean, he's a 1.18 point per minute producer. He's just going to torch him. I mean, if we look at the individual matchups, they're allowing 1 more point than average to point guards on the season. Now, to power forwards, or to forwards, I mean, they're allowing 2 less on average. So that's the one position they do seem to do pretty well, but Simmons really is a point guard. That's more important to me today. Yeah, I mean, he just looks like just an absolute smash play. That salary to me. I mean, he has a triple-double upside for sure every time he steps on the court, and no one's guarding him today. I mean, it's just a fast-paced game. Everything just looks really good for Ben Simmons. Up next, we have Fred VanVleet for Toronto at 7,700. And honestly, I hate playing guys against Orlando. I'm going to say it all year. I'm going to continue to not really do it that much. But Fred VanVleet's been playing 40 minutes a game. And at 40 minutes a game, at 7,700, like, I want to go there. And he's been shooting the ball really well. He's someone I want to get in some lineups. I mean, if he ends up getting pretty highly owned, I'll probably just fade him. But I'm expecting him really not to be. So there's some interest in just putting him in a few lineups. Then we got the Jazz against the Grizzlies. I like Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell just because the Grizzlies suck against guards pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it. They're getting a nice pace-up spot as well. I mean, if we look at their matchups against shooting against combo guards, it's really, really solid. And against point guards, it's just like about average, but they're just not really that great against guards. And then we look at it is a 5 more possession pace-up spot, which I really like. Really like that for both these guys. And then we look at the line, and it's a very solid showing for them. Very positive line for the Utah Jazz. So I think they're just in the best spot in that team. I don't like Rudy Gobert's matchup against Joe Val to be too much, and I just don't really want to play Ingles or Royce O'Neal. I think Mitchell will probably go higher owned, so I think Mike Conley might actually be a guy to go to today, just because he is going to be lower owned. And I mean, hey, if you want to play that revenge narrative, Mike Conley knocking his old team out of the playoffs, although it's Mike Conley, he doesn't have any like revenge narrative, but I mean, it's just it's always a fun thing to think about. And then lastly, we're gonna go to Troy Brown Jr. on the Washington Wizards. I just feel like I need to get someone on the Wizards in here, and Troy Brown Jr. has been playing upper 30s in minutes. So probably I have him waiting for 34 right now, but he gets a 38 or 39 for sure. He's just gonna be out there a ton. Not a great matchup at all. Like, it's actually a horrible matchup, but he's gonna be out there, and he's a pretty decent point per minute producer. And it's not Thomas Bryant, who's gotten his prices rose a lot, and he has to play against Joel Embiid. Like, it's Troy Brown Jr. is going to have to play against Josh Richardson and Tobias Harris, which I'm cool with. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this slate today. Not a ton of value, but there's also not a ton of guys at the top that I feel like you need to pay for. It looks like a more balanced build day today. Hopefully it's a good slate. I'm looking forward to watching some of these NBA games. Some of them are going to suck, but like the Lakers Thunder games are really good real-life NBA games, so I'm looking forward to that one more than really all of them. But, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys have a great weekend or a great rest of the week, and I hope you guys stick around. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, turn on notification bell if you want to subscribe to my Patreon. I'll put that in the description below. I don't think I talked about at the beginning, but my social medias, Twitter and Instagram, I'll put those in the link in the description below as well. Make sure to stick around for more NBA videos this week. I got NASCAR coming up this week too, 4 videos for that, 4 NASCAR races, so make sure to stick around for all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys make some money tonight.